In the serene village of Akalakoso, where the mornings are kissed by the golden sun, the colors of the rainbow always beautiful, and the evenings very interesting with the sound of crickets, there lived Kokito, a successful businessman who has spent years in the city. He is a man loved by all because of his involvement in the development of Akalakoso. He gives scholarships to a lot of students in and around Akalakoso. He built schools in almost all the villages around, and also built wells in villages where there was scarcity of water. Kokito wasn't just a businessman. He was the heart of Akalakoso, a man whose generosity touched lives far and wide. One fateful morning, at the bustling village market, Kokito met Odayor. It wasn't just an ordinary meeting. It was the kind that even the gods might pause to watch. Her basket of fruits tumbled to the ground, sending mangoes and oranges rolling like marbles across the dusty earth. "Oh no!" Odayor exclaimed as she made effort to gather her fruit. "Let me join you," Kokito said, bending to help. Suddenly, their hands brushed as they reached for the same mango, and both of them burst into laughter. The laugh was so genuine that it echoed through the market. That was how it all began. Their friendship blossomed like the flowers in spring, giving them avenues to share interesting, exciting, and entertaining moments together. Kokito often visited her shop, pretending he needs some supplies, when he actually went there just to check on her. They spent evenings strolling by the river, talking about the dreams and ambitions. It was so interesting. They have a lot in common. Soon, their love story became the talk of Akalakoso, and their plans for a grand wedding thrilled everyone. Kokito saw Toby the first day he visited Odayor's home. She introduced him as her younger brother. The boy was very smart, gentle, and obedient. One sunny afternoon, as Kokito arrived at Odayor's house for their evening walk to the river bank, he found Toby sitting under a mango tree. The boy was carving a beautiful design into a piece of wood with a small knife. He focused squarely on what he was doing. That was why he didn't notice the arrival of Kokito on time. "Hey, Toby," Kokito called out while walking towards him. "What are you doing?" Toby looked up, his serious face breaking into a shy smile. "I'm carving a bed," he said, holding up the half-finished job. Kokito looked at the carving and said, "This is beautiful. Where did you learn this from?" Toby shrugged. "I just watched people at the market and I tried to copy them." Kokito smiled. "You've got talent, young man. But tell me, why a bed?" he asked. Toby's eyes lit up. "Because birds are free. They can go anywhere without asking for anyone's permission." Kokito was taken aback by the depth of the boy's response. "You are quite a philosopher," he said, before he started walking away. Toby smiled and then continued his job. The next day, Kokito brought a kite from the city. He suggested they take Toby to the open field behind the hut so he can make the kite fly. When they got to the field, Toby couldn't make the kite fly the first time he attempted. It kept nosediving into the grass repeatedly. Toby frowned, but he was determined to get it right. "I won't give up," declared Toby. "That's the spirit. You need to keep trying till you get it right," said Kokito. "Maybe the kite needs wings like a bird carving." They burst into laughter, and Toby tried again. On the fourth attempt, the kite flew into the sky, dancing against the backdrop of the setting sun. Toby jumped with joy, holding the strings tightly as the kite flew higher and higher. When he got back home that evening, Toby assisted Odayor in preparing dinner. He was always ready to obey instructions from Odayor. That was the day Kokito realized he wasn't just falling in love with Odayor. He was growing fond of Toby as well. The boy's presence added a new layer of warmth to their young relationship, making their little family feel complete in a way Kokito hadn't expected. Weeks later, the historical Festival of Lanterns lit up Akalakoso like a dream painted in fire and stardust. The village square buzzed with energy. Drummers pounded their talking drums. Women danced in circles with glowing calabashes balanced on their heads, and children also danced barefoot under the moonlight. It was a night of light, love, and laughter. Kokito arrived in his usual graceful style. Odayor stood beside him in a stunning wrapper of royal blue, her smile wide and radiant. But the true star of the evening was Toby. Toby wore an outfit Kokito bought for him in the city. It looked so good on him. When the flute players began their tune, Toby leaped into the center of the square and danced like a leaf caught in a gentle storm. The crowd clapped in excitement, and even the elders nodded their heads in approval. "He moves like someone who carries joy in his bones," Kokito whispered to Odayor. Odayor smiled while Toby was dancing. A moment later, the music softened into distant hymns, and the stars above blinking their curious eyes when Toby disappeared. At first, no one noticed it. Kokito thought he is somewhere around the corner. Odayor assumed he was playing with other boys in the crowd. But minutes turned to hours. Toby was nowhere around the arena. Panic set in. Kokito and Odayor became very scared. The music stopped. Torches were light. The village split into search groups, calling his name, combing the forest path, checking the riverside, and even the old shrine where children rarely go to. Odayor's voice broke as she called out his name over and over again. She was taken over by fear. Kokito felt his heart tightened with each step. The thought of losing Toby was something he couldn't bear. Just as despair began to set in, one of the searchers cried out, "Over here! I found him! He's here!" Kokito dashed towards the sand, leaping over roots and running down a slope. There, under a secret mango tree behind a hut, sat Toby. His little arms folded over his knees, and his eyes filled with tears. As soon as Kokito saw Toby, he knew something was wrong. "What is it, Toby?" asked Kokito. The boy looked up slowly and then said, "I wasn't lost." Suddenly, Odayor rushed forward, but stopped when she saw Kokito talking to Toby. "I heard," continued Toby, "that you be taking Odayor away after the wedding, and you leave me here alone." Kokito was shocked. His heart split in two. This wasn't just fear, it was heartbreak wrapped in a child's silence. "Listen to me, Toby. You are a part of me," said Kokito. "You are not just part of our lives. You are our life, and nothing can change it." Toby's lips trembled. "So you are not leaving me behind?" he asked. Kokito shook his head. "Never. You are family, and family don't leave family behind." There was a moment of deep silence under that mango tree, where only the crickets sang. Then Toby whispered, "Okay, I believe you." That assurance was all Toby needed. It was an assurance that restored joy to his heart. He knew it was a genuine assurance that would never be broken. As Odayor watched Kokito and Toby, she saw a man who didn't just love her, but had also accepted her family, and that in her heart was a moment she knew their love was not ordinary. It was something heaven itself had approved. 5 days before the wedding, the village square was filled with excitement. Drummers rehearsed with so much energy. Women gathered to cook, braid hair, and sing wedding chants that traveled through the fields like music on the wind. Kokito and Odayor were the pride of Akalakoso. Everyone said it was a union blessed by the gods. But something unusual happened that evening. As the golden sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows through the trees, an old woman walked into the village. Her name was Mama Vyodudu, a seer from a faraway village known only by a few. She wore white robe with cowries sewn along the hem, and she was holding a staff. She came as she always did, once a year, but this time she came unannounced, 2 months earlier than usual. She went straight to the market square and sat beneath a huge tree. Words spread fast, and soon villagers gathered at the market square just to hear what the seer might say. Kokito and Odayor sat among the villagers. They had never met the seer before, but from the way people talked about her, they thought it would be very necessary to see her that day. "I see light and I see shadows," began the old seer, her eyes gazing at nothing and everything. "Two hearts united by the river. A third follows with the mark of the wind. The wedding drums beat, yes, but the gods are whispering." A huge silence fell across the crowd. Then the seer turned her face towards Kokito. "You," she said, looking into his eyes, "you hold the hands of a woman whose tears once watered the earth. But there is more to what you can see." Kokito's expression didn't change, for he never believed in such prophecies. "What are you saying, mother?" he asked with a warm smile. "Look beyond love's perfume," replied the seer. "Sometimes the flower hides a root buried deep in forgotten soil." People murmured, some nodded, others were confused. Odayor didn't understand what the old seer was talking about. Vyodudu stared at her and then said, "Fear not, my daughter, for when 3 rivers become one, the land will flourish. A blessing is in your midst, with small feet and eyes full of freedom." The villagers were still trying to understand exactly what the seer was talking about when the old woman said, "Hold tight to what the gods are weaving. Loose threads still have meanings." No one understood the seer's message that day, but they believed her words weren't just riddles, they were warnings. The plans for their wedding were ongoing, and everything seemed perfect. Odayor said to Kokito when he came visiting one evening, "I'm so excited. It's just 3 days before our wedding. For me, it's a dream come true because I'm getting married to the best man in the entire world. And I'm so lucky you are the one for me," replied Kokito. "I thank my star every day for sending you across my way." The expression of their love continued till he left that evening. Everyone who saw them that day became jealous of their unique love. The eve of their wedding was bustling with excitement. Family and friends arrived. Gifts were piled high, and the air was filled with laughter and music. It was an evening of joy and anticipation until Kukru, Kokito's cousin, dropped the bombshell. Kukru quietly pulled Kokito aside, away from everyone, and then gave him a very shocking news. "Kito," Kukru began with a careful whisper, "I have something to tell you. That boy living with Odayor isn't her younger brother. He's her son." The revelation got Kokito so confused and very angry at the same time. That night, he confronted Odayor and demanded answers. Tearfully, Odayor explained, "I was afraid, Kokito. I didn't want to lose you." "The truth is bitter, but it must be said," Kokito said in a very sad tone. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me," cried Odayor. Kokito shook his head. "How could I trust you now?" He got up and stormed out, his heart heavy with betrayal. Determined to call off the wedding, Kokito set out early for the church the following morning. Fate, however, intervened. His car broke down on a deserted road, and he had to look for an alternative means of getting to the church that morning. At last, he arrived at the church late, dusty and unkempt. He walked straight to the altar where Odayor stood while trembling in her wedding gown. Kokito didn't give Odayor any attention. His attention was on the message he was about to give to the congregation, the cancellation of the wedding. The congregation watched in tense silence as Kokito prepared to speak. Before he could utter a word, the church doors opened, and Auntie Mimi, his father's half-sister, strode in. Her striking features, light skin, curly hair, and hazel eyes immediately caught Odayor's attention. Odayor's breath caught in her throat. She recognized Mimi instantly. Years ago, in another village, she had a friend who introduced Mimi to her as his aunt. Her sudden appearance now felt like destiny. "Mimi!" Odayor called out. Mimi turned around and looked at Odayor. "Do I know you?" she asked. "Yes, you do," Odayor said, stepping forward. "We met years ago when Toji and I were dating." Mimi stared into Odayor's eyes, and then said, "Cuckoo?" "Yes, that was the name given to me by my grandmother," Odayor replied with joy as she hugged Mimi. "Tunji, you never told me you are marrying Cuckoo," Mimi said to Kokito, who appeared to be as confused as the congregation. Tears of joy filled Odayor's eyes. "If you are Tunji, then Toby isn't just my son, he's yours too," she said. Everybody was surprised. Kokito looked at Odayor. He tried to speak, but he couldn't find the right word to say. It was then that Odayor recounted their first meeting in the village of Mbuku many years ago. They had been inseparable, dreaming of a future together until fate separated them when Kokito left for the city without any notice. She discovered she was pregnant shortly after he left. All effort to reach him proved abortive, and so she had to raise Toby alone. Eventually, she moved to Akalakoso for a fresh start. "But you were so beautiful back then," Kokito said, still looking confused. When a woman had to raise a son alone, it's not easy to hold on to her beauty, Odayor said with tears in her eyes. Kokito's anger melted into regret. He walked over to Odayor and they hugged each other so tight while crying. "I'm sorry for not being there all these years. I promise to make it up to you," Kokito said to Odayor. Suddenly, someone yelled from the congregation. "What kind of a wedding twist is this? It's like watching a village drama." "Yes, it's a village drama," responded Mimi. "But you must understand that when the gods weave destiny, even broken threads can create a masterpiece." The entire church echoed in a huge laughter before Kokito turned to Odayor. "I was wrong to judge you without understanding. I love you and I want us to be a family." Cheers erupted from the congregation. The wedding proceeded with a renewed joy, laughter, and celebration. Kokito, Odayor, and Toby stood together as a family, their love shining brighter than ever. People never got tired of sharing the tale of Kokito and Odayor. Neither did they got tired of listening to it. It was a tale of love, determination, forgiveness, and destiny. Indeed, true love isn't about perfection. It's about finding beauty in the imperfection.